grown folks reminisce with some feel-good music as we have grown conversations.
Join us on our journey as we apply knowledge to power. For together we are better.
Every Wednesday from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Grown Folks Radio, Everyday Talk with Carmen and Kevin.
1, 2, 1, 2. Here we go. It's my time to rise. It's my time to shine. It's my time to live. It's my time to fly. It's my time. It's my time.
And it's Grown Folks time. Welcome, Grown Folks. As always, thank you for joining us on this journey. And to all the new listeners, welcome to the Grown Folks family. This is Everyday Talk with your girl Carmen and your boy Kevin.
What's up, fam? Happy National Oatmeal Nut Waffle Day.
What?
Say that 100 million
I
times.
thought it was National Johnny Appleseed Day.
Nat, I don't know where you get your content from, okay? But today on Everyday Talk with Carmen and Kevin is National Oatmeal Nut Waffle Day.
Did you bring them?
Look.
Oatmeal nut waffle.
And
I like waffles.
Yeah, well, I mean, why do we do this?
I don't know about oatmeal nut.
I do. I know that.
Have you tried one before?
Together?
No, but it sounds really good.
It sounds good. I just don't know if it actually does. It exist?
I mean, if you brought one, we could have tried it.
No,
Yeah, we
no.
could
I
have
like
cut
that
into
idea.
little pieces.
How
Four
about we go to
pieces.
Kiki's on Sunday
Oh my gosh,
together,
let's go to
and
Kiki's.
we can check it out.
He knows that I love Kiki's.
Yeah.
I might go.
It's
I
great.
ain't in the front.
It is good.
Yo, when you go
But
to,
he won't eat banana nut waffle.
Whoa.
Yeah, wait a minute. Hey guys, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show, guys. And we're jumping right in. We got a lot of material to cover. You see how I just changed the subject
He
on
just
that?
changed the subject.
He
Hey,
did that.
family.
Just
if
like
you,
that.
If you have not yet followed and liked us, make sure you do so. You can find us on all social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. You can also find us on Podbean. And visit us at gfrworldwide.com. Today we are speaking on healed or not. We have spent the last few weeks in regards to time to heal. So today we're going to talk about what does it look like when you're healed and when you're not healed, and then how to get to the point of being healed. But before we get into all the conversations, as we always do, we enjoy it with some celebration.
Absolutely, fam. You know, this is the month of March. Wow. And we have a new indie artist. And I'm going to say it right today. I'm going to say her name correct. And it is Solim. So, family, the title of the song is called Hero. Right here, Everyday Talk with Carmen and Kevin.
On Grown Folks Radio.
Awaken true love in me. Help me to believe that I can give unselfishly a little more of me. Take my eyes off me, look towards those in need. Help me to believe that inside of me lies the hope they need. Help me to believe. Let me see the hero in me. I want to be your hands and feet. Let me see the hero in me. Be more than I perceive. Let me see the hero in me. Yeah, yeah. Let me see the hero in me. Yeah, yeah. Ignite a giving heart in me. With mercy eyes to see that I can give unselfishly a little more of me. Take my
Mindset. We're breaking the mold, bringing back the love and care at Grown Folks Radio, Everyday Talk with Carmen and Kevin.
All right, fam. That was Hero by our Indie Artist of the Month, Solim. Solim.
Hero. And Arlene is on. We want to say hi to Arlene. Hi,
Hello,
Arlene.
Miss Arlene.
Hello.
We've been watching Arlene with her new church coming up, and it's so great to see you on fire. So we want to take a moment to say that to you, because everybody who's on fire for God, that is just amazing.
Amen.
Amen.
We're going to, of course, Kevin just talked about the indie artist of the month. Miss Salem, she's actually out of Connecticut, and we talked about her a little bit last week. Today we'll be sharing another one of her songs towards the end, so make sure that you tune in. And we also placed it on the Chatterbox, so if you're not on the Chatterbox, make sure that you join us. We're on Facebook Live, and we're there taking your input, and we want to hear everything you have to say in regards to our topic of the day, which is healed or not. But of course, you know, we've been spending some time with our news segment, and it's been quite informative. And guys, definitely something to hear, to take the recommendations, the suggestions, and just something to be able to ponder on. And ladies, also to be able to share with your fellas in the family, but also to know what is it that you're looking for. What is it that should look like? So family, here is Kevin's Manly Manners.
Hashtag Go Tampa. Every week.
I don't understand that.
It doesn't look.
Like, football's not here.
No. Football's
right.
in the heart. Okay.
Manly Manners.
All day. Welcome to
Man.
my segment of the show, fam. Kevin's Manly Manners, where I simply talk to the men in the family, hoping and praying that you receive the message the way it's meant to be delivered. Fam, before I get started, every week we're going to talk about Jeremiah 29:13. And that simply says, you seek me and you will find me when you seek me and find me with all of your heart.
Yes.
Okay? So Carmen and I and Dan, we personally invite you to seek God in everything you do. Everything. Every week, fam, we're going to talk about this. And we promise you, the moment you start seeking him with everything, you will see your movements change. Your thought processes change. The way you speak, the way you interact, your relationships change. Ultimately, you will change completely. And you will see the God that loves you. Right?
Amen.
All right, fam. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about not really diving deep into this topic, because it was such an amazing series that we did. What was it, last year when we did the love languages?
Yep.
But I want to talk to the fellas. Ladies, if you, of course you can take notes. Of course you can take notes. But I want to talk to the men in regards to the love languages. Because as men, we're supposed to be head of house. As men, we're supposed to be head of house. As men, we're supposed to know the true dynamics of our family and how everyone is in the family, right? So I have a question to the men. I have a question to the parents. How's that?
Okay.
Do you know each other's love language, number one? And do you know your children's love language? Okay? And, you know, take a hot second and just reflect. Do you truly know what your children's love language is? Okay? And as men, you know, we talked about this every week. You know, we get caught up being the provider. We get caught up being, you know, out there dealing with the world, coming home and not really connecting with our children. But if you know their love language, it makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah, it sure does.
Doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
So, guys, real quick, I'm just going to go over the 5 types of love languages. And then, you know, later on, if we can do it during the show, we'll definitely plug in the link. If we can't do it during the show, we'll do it, you know, later on after the show. But we're going to put the little quiz in there for you to take, the link for you to take the quiz to find out your love language if you don't know. And for anybody else in your family, you know, your children, you know, if they're of age, of course, to be able to answer the questions, but, you know, to help you get a better idea of where your family is at. Okay. Number one, fam. Words of affirmation. Words of affirmation simply express love with words, verbal compliments. Okay. A good example of that is "you always make me laugh." That's such a simple phrase, but it speaks volumes. Okay. Number two, fam, acts of service. This is a love language that expresses love by doing things that they know you like, or you know that they like. Okay.
Yep. Something
Something as simple as cooking their favorite meal, doing the laundry to help, doing things to,
Ease it
ease
for the other person.
right, to make the other person, feel good. Number three, fam, is receiving gifts. Not necessarily materialistic. It just means that a meaningful or thoughtful gift makes your family feel loved or appreciated. Picking up somebody's favorite ice cream on the way home from work because they know that other person is had a rough day at work.
Yep.
Right?
Chocolate Trinity.
Wow. I so thought he was going to say oatmeal nut waffles. I don't know where. Okay. Number four, fam, quality time. Fellas, this is huge. So many of us, me included, we get caught up in doing other things when simply if our ladies, our significant other want quality time, be able to spend quality time. That's no television. That's no phones. That's spending time having a conversation. No other distractions. It could be sitting on the porch talking.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Something so simple, and it doesn't cost you anything. Right? And then the last one, fam, number five, physical touch.
Mm-hmm.
Physical touch is nothing more impactful for that person to be able to be touched, or for you to touch them. Okay, it doesn't matter what you're saying or what you're doing. They just want you to touch them. It doesn't have to be sexual. It could be a simple hug, a simple kiss. You know what I mean? When you walk by, kiss your significant other on the neck. We're gonna keep this PG. Okay, but what we're talking about, fam, is the physical. Okay, so fellas,
and that's important because it makes them feel unloved. If
right,
you don't.
right, and the whole point of us talking about the love languages is you can, if you don't know where your significant other's love language is, or your children's love language, and you're trying to force feed them on your love language, they're not receiving the love that you think that they're receiving, because they don't receive it that way. So you have to do a little bit of homework and find out the way that they receive love. And I promise you, fam, it will help them learn something new about themselves, and makes their relationships in the future, especially if they're children, they'll know how they receive love, and it will kind of guide them in their movements and their relationships in the future.
Amen.
Right.
Yep.
So, once again, fam, we dropping nuggets, right? We dropping nuggets to help men and women tonight to be better. Learn the love language of your children. Open that line of communication. Let them talk to you. The world is not is a crazy place right now, and all they have is their parents right now. If they're blessed enough to have both of their parents in their lives, you guys need to come together and know your children. Okay, family. That will conclude Kevin's Manly Manners.
Ah, very nice,
Very
very
nice.
nice, very nice. I enjoyed that series that we did with the 5 love languages, and then how we tied it back to the word and how important it was. We've already put the link up on the Chatterbox. So, and it's actually for the quizzes, and they do have quizzes for children and singles and teens.
Very nice.
So they've
Okay.
updated that. So
Okay.
it's
That's
really
awesome.
important. We're not indicating that you can't love your child without knowing the love language. We're not saying that. We're just saying that, or your spouse or anything like that. We're just saying that there's opportunities and tools to be able to get to know each other just a little bit more
Yeah.
in depth. And I think that one of the important things that happens when you're a child and you see your parents kind of speaking to you in the way you understand love is, you know, they get an opportunity to also figure out in their own little world what makes mommy and daddy happy. Right.
Yeah.
And so it gives them the opportunity of understanding how to pay attention to those important moments. And I think that those are things we kind of miss out or lose. Like I didn't know my children's love language, so I showed them with mine. But I think that if I had that opportunity to kind of know that, I would have probably approached situations just a little bit different.
Right.
Yeah.
And
And
that's
that's really what it is.
that's what it's all about, you know. And of course, like what the first lady was saying, we're not trying to you love your children because they're your children. It just makes things a little bit easier, just a little bit easier. And for the fellas, because it's a big area of opportunity for the men.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us are disconnected emotionally anyway.
Right.
You know what I mean? So learning somebody's love language doesn't necessarily work for us because, you know, we aren't necessarily programmed that way.
Right.
You know, we're not necessarily programmed that way. So being authentic men of God, we have to change our mindset. We have to be different. And it starts now. You know, we were raised in a time where, you know, our parents who didn't know any better, they mimic what they were shown, right? But you continue to see the disconnect generation after generation after generation, and you know how you feel.
Yep.
Right.
Definitely.
Right. So let's be a vessel
Intelligent.
of difference and
Yeah.
change.
And I think that we also have to, you know, with that, as you're saying, things change, life changes, people change, the world changes.
Right.
Tools are different. You know, things begin to evolve in the sense of people get to understand mannerisms and relationships a little bit better. And that's one of the things that is occurring during these past decades. Is all has been about kind of learning you and learning people.
Right.
And so there's been you know, just a growth of relationships and coachings and stuff like that. You know, you want to get with the right one now.
Of course,
Well, we're not saying just go and somebody says they're a life coach, go with them. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is that people have taken the opportunity to kind of learn these important relationships and these resources and tools and goals and opportunities to be able to grow relationships in all aspects.
Right.
And so we have that chance. And so why not?
And plus, with what we're talking about tonight, fam, or what we've been doing this series on healing, it kind of helps with the healing process.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
You know, it definitely. So this is a win-win situation. You know, learning the love languages for yourself and for your family, but it also helps the healing process when you're in a situation because
Yeah.
you know how to communicate. You know how that person receives love. So that's a win.
And just
Definitely.
just so we can move on in regards to what our agenda has, but just a little thing about myself. Like my daughter took the love languages, right? And hers was quality time. And when I think back to how she was when she was a child, we had date night. So mommy daughter date night, and her theme was, you know, just having us time. So it was like, put away the phones, don't pay attention. And if I looked at my phone during that time, it kind of like, you could see her get bothered.
Right.
But now I understand why, right? And so sometimes we didn't know those tools. I didn't know those tools. I didn't know a lot of things during that time. But, you know, now that we do, why not move it forward and pass it on and give it, you know, pass it forward, as they say.
Yep.
And pay it forward is what they say. Pay it forward.
Pay it forward.
Pay it forward and have the opportunity to have different growth. Hey, family, we have been celebrating Women's History Month during this time. And so to all the women in the family, You guys are wonderful. You're beautiful. You're strength. You are loyal. You are amazing. You can do anything you want to. As a matter of fact, we have 4 women on this segment that actually made history during their time in the things that they have done. So we're going to mention them. Sally Ride. You guys ready?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Sally Ride became the first American woman to travel to space on the shuttle Challenger in 1983.
Okay.
Oh, astronaut. Very nice. Tammy Duckworth in 2017, she became the first Thai American woman and the first female amputee to be elected to Congress.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Did not know that.
Althea Gibson in 1951. She was the first African American woman to play at Wimbledon. Wimbledon.
Yeah, I'm horrible at tennis.
So this is before Serena, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait.
I mean, it's 1951.
Yeah.
Okay, so Sonia Sotomayor was appointed to the United States Supreme Court in 2009, making her the first ever Hispanic woman to serve on the highest court in the land.
Wow.
Wow.
And I know because, the island celebrated that. So,
I'm glad she said that name.
Yeah, that's
Sonia Sotomayor.
yeah, that's got
Yeah,
you.
don't kill the name, guys.
Yeah, I would have really messed that up.
Hey, family, we've been sharing also a little area where we've been taking the opportunity, and Dan has been sharing with us, quotes that speak to him. And so we call it a quote to give.
Yes. So tonight's is, the emotions that can break your heart is sometimes the very one that heals it. So a lot of times, sometimes, like, for me especially, my one emotion is, like, hurting. Like, I heal. When I got to my healing point, I would start, like, really listening to praise and worship and getting into it. But in addition, that hurt, I would confront it instead of backing it down and just keeping it in the back of my mind.
Right.
So as soon as I confronted it, that's why it spoke to me.
Very nice. I mean,
Very
what did we learn from the series thus far? You have to go through the process.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You have to go through the process, and that quote speaks that.
Yep.
Yes,
exactly.
it does.
Very nice. Thank you, Dan. And with that, of course, that takes us into the conversation, which is absolutely perfect to start us off. So last week we were sharing in regards to some ways to get through the healing. And to recap, we want to talk a little bit in regards to the healing process that we spoke about last week. And what we talked about was, to acknowledge your pain, which is, you feel through it, sort of what you just were speaking about, Dan.
Right.
You reach out to others who are a positive support system, right? You want to make sure that your tribe is actually good for you,
Right.
That's going to help you get through it. Take a break from the pain. And what that means is kind of like Dan was just sharing, right? He used a lot of praise and worship, or just go for a dance or a hike or a walk or something. Just take a break from the pain, kind of disconnect from that, and kind of do something else where you put your mind towards it.
Can I chime in on that just for a second? The moment you feel like not going is the time that you need to go.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? The First Lady mentioned that several times in the series, but that is so powerful in itself. The moment at your worst moment where you don't want to do anything is when you have to force yourself to get up and do something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Look,
Okay.
true story. I became a Zumba instructor in 2009, but before that, the Zumba instructor that was teaching in the YMCA, I remember her name, and she was this thin, tall, happy-go-lucky, super cheerful. I was mad, I was upset, I was hurting, and every time she would get up there and she'll start jumping and laughing and just being super happy with herself and teaching the class, which was great because it was great motivation for the class. But
Right.
for Carmen,
You don't even
I
know.
wanted to beat
For
you.
Carmen, right? I was like on the third row or the second row or something like that from her because I didn't want to be so close to her. For Carmen, it was like, I will take off my shoe and throw it at you. Like, why are you so chirpy? Like, oh, what is your problem? But that was my emotions, right?
Right.
But even with that emotion, I still went to class, even though I was looking at the teacher like, shut up.
You have a problem.
It was like, stop it. The world is not this happy. Why? That was just me. It was all internal, right? It was nothing bad. And I would leave the class feeling just a little bit better. It was just like a little notch. It wasn't even a huge notch. But it got to the point that little notch became huge. And I was
Right.
looking forward towards the class so much so that I became an instructor. So, and then I could remember me being cheerful and thinking, like, probably somebody's thinking the same thing I was thinking.
She's about to get hit with a shoe.
Right.
Somebody's going to throw me the shoe. So it was, and it was that, but because I went through that emotion, true story, because I went through that emotion, when I was instructing, I would turn around and look at them, and I could tell when someone was having a moment, when they were having a bad moment. And so I would come near them, but I was careful not to get too close, right? But I would come near them and I would cheer them on specifically
Right.
and
Nice.
put my attention to them because I wanted them to know that they weren't alone
Right.
and it was okay,
Yeah, that's good.
and so, and the little bit that they did, even if it wasn't everything they had, but the little bit they did, I celebrated it with them.
Celebrate
like,
the
a great
small things.
job.
Yep.
Like, great job. And then I'll move on to somebody else, so it wasn't like a whole lot of attention on them and they feel kind of zoomed in.
Right.
So I'm the only reason why I'm sharing that because those little things, we can do them even as friends,
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Yep.
So, learn from it. Learn from whatever you went through. Use it for future. And forgive others and yourself. And I think yourself is really important
Yes.
because sometimes we can get to a place where we blame ourselves for the experience we go through, the journey we go through.
Yep.
And start rebuilding, right? That's the let go part, which a lot of times when we're going through the process, we can't see. Right?
Yes.
All right. So on Healed or Not, what we really want to talk about is we want to explore the areas in which we may be able to identify whether we truly are healed or not. And so it could be really little things. So we'll talk about what healed could possibly look like, right? You can find yourself all of a sudden singing in the car, right? A song comes on and you're singing in the car.
Did someone do that today?
I can't hold a note. That's all I'm going to say. I tried to sing, and Carmen just looked at me like, that's what we're doing right now?
I just kept looking at my phone. But those, when you have gone through a situation, and you guys, of course, you guys have gone through your experiences. Nat has gone through her experiences. We all have shared them here. You do come to a place where you find yourself kind of singing along with a song, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. All the time.
Yeah.
Like even whether it's not even praise and worship, sometimes for me it's just like some song that I really don't know, but I'm just kind of
You're in a good
along.
place.
Yeah.
You're in a good place. And when you're able to sing that song, a song, for example, it just feels good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I was cleaning the house on Saturday, and I had some Spanish music going on, and the oldies came on, and I was dancing like I was a mad woman. Like, my knee didn't appreciate it later, but I was dancing like a mad woman, just enjoying my time and cleaning and whatever. But that's the place where I'm at now. So if I look back to where I went through my journey, it was nothing like that.
Nope.
It wouldn't have been that. And I was by myself, and
Yeah.
I was just cleaning, and the music was super loud, and I thought I was singing like Beyonce. I'm pretty sure it wasn't. I'm pretty sure it wasn't. But I was enjoying it. And so, other things that could possibly show you that you've healed is that you're willing to visit places you weren't able to visit before. because maybe they brought memories,
Yep.
right?
I know.
Yeah.
I know. For me, like when I switched churches, back in 2012, I switched from an older church to a newer one, and of course, Chantel and I started off new at that place, and so it was really hard for me to go back because everyone knew us together, and then we were separated. Of course, I still went ahead and didn't. Not at first. It took me a while to go ahead and visit back and just see my old pastor and my old friends and again. So it's definitely
Well, one of
bringing
the
up point.
one of the things that I used was if people that have hurt me, I would never say their name. Okay, so a good sign for me is when I'm done and I'm healed, I can say their name. And I can say their name like effortlessly, like, and
Without anger,
without the anger
bitterness
of
or-
anything,
yeah.
and that's one of the things I learned about myself, listening and us doing the show, wow, that's something that I've done. I feel more comfortable. I'm comfortable now speaking their name like they're regular. Like you don't have that power over me anymore to the point where I can't speak your name.
Right.
You know what
Which
I'm
is
saying?
for me right there. I
Yeah.
said her name and it's like, wow, I didn't even realize any bitterness or anything. So I know I'm almost there. I have some points that
It's okay.
Still
It's,
there,
it's a
but-
process.
Yep.
It's a process, but it's when you get to that point, like what the first lady is saying, you start going to places that you would avoid in the past. So that's
Yep,
good
definitely.
things. Yeah.
That's a good point. I like it.
You're able to have a good time around others without worrying.
Yes.
You're able to sleep better and have moments of peace.
Oh yeah, I'm going to bed now. I'm gonna get me some sleep.
You find yourself laughing and smiling more, and you're able to speak of the situation without reliving it. And I think that's key point, because have you ever spoken to someone? I have found myself in conversations where you're speaking with someone and they're talking to you about something that happened 20 years ago and they start crying about it. And it's
Yeah.
like they're completely reliving that whole entire moment as though they're physically going through it at
Again.
the time
Right.
that they're speaking to you about it.
Yep.
And you can tell, even though they could easily tell you that they've forgiven or anything like that, you can definitely tell that there's something still
Yeah.
rooted
Yep.
that does not allow them to get past that point.
Yep.
And so those are areas, that's kind of a little bit of what healed looks like. And we do have a little bit more to share with you, but I do want to talk a little bit before time goes out in regards to what if you haven't healed, but you believe you have, but you haven't. And how are you able to know that? And so this came up in conversation because sometimes, we're visual, or we like to see the action, or whatever it may be. Or, well, how can I personally know that I'm healed or I'm not healed? Do I need to forgive somebody? How do I know that? If maybe that person's no longer in my life, or maybe the situation's no longer there, the journey has already passed. How do I know that? So we're going to talk a little bit in regards to what that may look like. And so one of the areas is that you could possibly find, and we talked about it last week, that we can possibly see change as something frightening or impossible. It could be something that you fear.
The unknown.
The unknown.
Yeah, the unknown. What am I going to
What's
do
gonna happen?
now?
Yeah.
Now that I'm out of that toxic relationship, if we're talking about a relational experience, work, what's going to happen now? So many of us, whether it's work or in a relational relationship, we lose ourselves. You can lose yourself, and when you're out of that toxic environment, it's different, and you get scared,
Right.
because you don't know what to do now.
Right.
So yeah.
And that's okay, right? It's not that it's not okay to be afraid or see something as, this is not what it was supposed to look like. It's just the fact that it doesn't hold you there, that you don't stay stuck there.
Right.
Right? The idea, eventually the emotions do stir up. So with that, for you, for someone who's not healed, it almost seems as though seeking emotional support, you kind of seek it where it's not available. So you're probably trying to find the tribe around you who they're not, they're probably in the state in which you are. So that kind of fear of having to change would mean to kind of change the tribe to probably something more supportive, and maybe what's around you maybe a bit toxic.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, especially for us fellas, when you go through a bad relationship, you want to run with the guys that would get you in trouble. You know what I mean? And because you don't have to deal with whatever you just came out with. You can easily sweep that up under the rug and go out here and do what you don't really want to do, but you're going to do it because it doesn't. You're not healed, and you're not going to address it right away.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's picking the wrong tribe is ultimately what I'm saying.
Right, which it's like you're holding on to the toxic people. You're keeping your status in that place because it also helps you for guys, right? Kind of makes you feel manly because you're able to kind of either hang with the guys, do stuff you're not supposed to, kind of hook up with some other person you're not supposed to, or whatever it may be. But it's true.
It is true.
It's true.
What if they're just trying to get their man card back?
Well, maybe they're okay, but they're going to do their man card back in whichever way they want to get their man
Right.
card back.
Right.
I mean, come on, let's be
Yeah.
realistic. This is about real talk, right? No judgment. Nobody's judging here.
Yeah.
But we're being realistic.
Right.
And women can do the same thing, though.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
So maybe that person was in in a long relationship, and all of a sudden they're jumping from here to there because they're trying to figure out, well, was it really the relationship that I was in that made me who I am, or am I, how can I ease this pain by covering it up with something else? And so, you're angry. Anything and everything can hurt you. You're looking for love, like we were just talking about, looking for love in the wrong places.
Yep.
We refuse therapy, right? And we have unrealistic expectations of situation or people. Sometimes we get into the next person or the next relationship expecting them to fix and heal us.
Ooh.
And to kind of
Dang.
take our baggage, unload it for us, and put it away neatly, and then we don't have to deal with it.
Absolutely.
Because they're going to come and fix everything, make everything look right again, make us feel right again, and we put the whole responsibility on the other person, and we do not hold ourselves responsible for it.
With the little side note, by the way, I'm not going to tell you anything about it. I'm just going to let you figure it out. Right?
Okay.
Yeah. No. But I mean, I'm serious. Like, who really goes into the next relationship? You've kind of shut down, dealing with that. Right. So you meet somebody new, you're having that conversation. Are you really talking about your past?
Nope.
You're not,
Yeah.
right? So all of the baggage, as the first lady was speaking about, all the baggage that you have, it hasn't come to the surface yet. It will once the new relationship, kind of
Starts developing.
matures and goes along, signs and things start popping up. So, yeah.
Once the honeymoon period, once the facade goes away, once the representation of this is what you need goes away, then all of a sudden the person shows up. Because there will be issues and trials, and there will be situations that will bring those feelings, those emotions back up.
Yep.
And whatever it may be. It might be the way someone answered you. It might be the way they said a word. It might be the way they looked at you. It could be the way they slammed the door. The way they walked off. It could be whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And it will just be that little trigger.
That's all it takes.
That's all it took.
That's all it takes. I mean, when Carmen and I first got together, I had those. I had a lot of those, and I didn't communicate it. But, if she says something to me a certain kind of way, she wasn't saying anything crazy to me, but it's the way I took it. And it just sent me into the stratosphere, dude. Like, it just, and then she has to try to talk to me to figure out what just happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah, so there was
And,
there was
and
a
we
lot.
have to be mindful of that, because if we're talking about healing, we also have to be mindful that there are certain soft indicators that kind of tell us too that we're not healed, right?
Right.
So we're talking about this baggage that you're carrying on, and the other person is also carrying on, and then all of a sudden you have
together.
this. You look like the airline where you go to the luggage pickup, and everybody's got this whole mess of stuff happening, because and then the luggage you brought and the luggage the person brought now becomes this huge pile of mess.
Yep.
Right.
Because nobody has taken the time, as we're talking about luggages as a metaphor, right? Nobody has taken the time to really dig into it and kind of see what happened. How do I get rid of this? How do I move on? How do I heal? How do I let go? And I'm a big believer in turning in everything to God and praise and worship and stuff like that. But let me tell you something. If you're not willing to admit to yourself that you have an issue, that you have some healing to be done, that you have pain that you have not let go and you have not turned in and you have not forgiven, it doesn't matter how much praise and worship you sing. It does not matter how many times you go to church. It does not matter how many Bible schools you go to or how many Bible classes you go to. If you do not unpack and let it go and truly turn it in and allow God to do what he needs to do with you, it doesn't do anything.
Nope.
It does nothing. All you did was go to praise and worship, to a Bible class, to classes, to more classes, refuse to believe that you're any of that, that you need to do any of that, and you probably became a stumbling block for somebody along the way.
Yep.
Because now they're looking at you as someone who goes to church, who does praise and worship, who does this, that. But your hurt has not hurt them. And so now you become because we all have been there. We become a domino effect.
Yep.
And that's the truth. That is absolutely the truth. And this is what this table is about, is talking about the truth. No judgment. Absolutely no judgment. Because we have done it. We have been there. And the only reason we can possibly talk about it is because we know
Right.
that that's possible.
You know what's funny? I think that was her final thoughts, right?
No, bro. No, get
I'm
ready.
kidding. But as far as my class that I'm going to every Tuesday night, we spoke on that last night, and it's funny that you said that, Carmen, because our not leader, but the person who facilitates, that's what they're called, facilitator, said exactly what you just said. So it's like I'm getting it double time.
No, it's called confirmation.
It's called confirmation.
Yeah,
That's exactly
I
what it is.
just was gonna say that. See,
Yeah.
so
It's gonna tell them that it's confirmation.
yeah,
But you know what, fam?
It's great.
This is another confirmation. This whole conversation, this is what we've been talking about in not just this series, but any other series. Being transparent
Yep.
with yourself. Being transparent. It's not going to be a pretty sight.
No.
Because there are things that you have to address. You have to face them to be able to move forward. You have to face them to allow God to work in your life. You have to face them to begin the healing process.
Yep.
You have to face them to become a better person. Right? And that's what we are talking about here on Everyday Talk, fam. This is the kind of content. I love this conversation.
Yeah.
Dan.
Yes, ma'am.
That confirmation was just in case you didn't hear it the first time.
Right.
Just in case it went in one ear and out
Sometimes
the
it
other.
doesn't go in.
Yeah. He was like, you know what? I know you too well, Dan. You need to hear it again.
Yep, he does.
Wow.
Thanks,
I
Nat.
like that. I like that.
Yeah.
That's
Thanks,
really
Nat.
good. But it's true.
It is
It's
true.
true.
It is.
Yeah, I know. It happens to me all the
I
time.
mean, I have to read my book twice in order for me to remember. So, yes. I have
wow.
to hear it
Read-
twice.
Yeah, read, write, speak, do it all over again.
Yep.
He's letting himself be known. He's letting himself be known.
I've been learning a lot about myself. Again, like Kevin said, not just from this series, but other series. And now that it's all coming together, now that
Yeah.
I'm reading the book too.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yes.
But we got to be honest, right? And we're sort of already in that area where we need to kind of wrap it up. But we want to leave it kind of in that area too,
Yeah.
because
We coming back.
well, we're gonna come back next week to do part 2 of the healed or not, and the part whatever of the time to heal. Well, I lost count.
Part 20.
I lost count. But the whole point is, let's be real.
Yeah.
We're grown people.
Mm-hmm.
This is grown folks radio, right? And we're grown people. So if we're talking about you want to have a good relationship, you want to be in a healthy relationship, you want somebody who's going to be for you, and you want to talk about that you want someone you're able to talk to, and you're someone who wants to, that someone will do for you, well, guess what? You also have to be able to do that.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the truth. Because no one's going to sit there and invest in you, invest you, and then you're not willing to give back the same thing and give a healthy relationship, give a healthy person, be able to say, hey, I'm here for you. Now, that doesn't mean that if somebody comes your way and they have a little bit of baggage, you can't help them unpack it.
Right.
Because what they need is someone different in their life.
Right.
What they need to see is the difference in this world, the light in this world, the salt in this world, what we were called to be.
Right.
Right? And
Amen.
that's what they need. And you can be that for them. But here's the thing. Don't just expect it from them. Be that to
Be able
them.
to give it.
Right? And then to be able to do that, you also have to heal. And maybe there's an area they can, kind of balance you off in. And maybe there's an area in which, they now become, that you're both helping each other move forward in a good, healthy relationship, helping one another heal fully to what it needs to be. And then you can become a power couple, a power family, a power whatever it is, power partners, whatever it may be.
Right.
Because this could be for work too. This could be for a business. This could be for whatever. But you cannot bring to the table what you don't have.
Right.
Right.
It's good stuff.
You don't even know. I mean, because Carmen and I, and we know the time is getting short, fam. So just make sure you're joining us next week so we can continue this conversation. But the relationship that Carmen and I have, it was not easy at the beginning because there was a lot of stuff I had to unpack.
No.
You know what I'm saying? No. Yeah,
you
you know what I'm saying. Yeah, but there was a lot of stuff that I had to unpack, and it wasn't a smooth ride. It was bumpy because I had to look at myself. I had to look at Kevin and see who he really is, and it's a process. I'm still doing it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I'm a little bit better. You know what I'm saying? Whatever the first lady says.
Thank you,
but
Carmen.
but I'm doing a little bit better. So it's a process, fam. But we need to hammer in the point tonight that it's a process. You have to be transparent in order for the good Lord to work in your life. You have to be transparent and you becoming a better person. That I think is the point that we really need to hammer in with the conversations and the things, the content, the text that we're talking about tonight. You know what time it is.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Oh, I love this. Nat, put your seatbelt on. It's about to get serious. No. Okay, she's ready. All right.
Hey.
Fam.
Click it or ticket.
Oh. Family, this is my favorite part of the show. This is where the First Lady takes the content, all the meat and potatoes of the show, she breaks it down, puts it all back together again, and tie in the Word of God. It is the most beautiful thing you will hear on the radio today, fam. Family, let me introduce you to Carmen's Final Thought.
Thank you. We thank you guys for listening to us and for being here and just sharing and putting your input. And those who are out there listening, this is truly what it's about. It's truly about being transparent, as Kevin was saying. It's truly about just truly digging inside you. We've talked about self-love. We've talked about healing. We've talked about forgiveness. But all of that becomes a decision. And it cannot happen unless you choose for it to happen. Unless you decide that this is what you want in your life. Unless you decide that you no longer want to be in abusive relationships, whether it's emotional, whether it's spiritual, whether it's physical, in an abusive relationship with your own self, because you continue to put yourself through situations where it's not necessary, where you're not wanting to put healthy boundaries because you need to feel wanted or loved. This is all about a decision and getting to know you. In order to know you and know what self-love is about, You have to get real with yourself and look in the mirror and say, look, I've done this, and I've gone through this, and that, but that does not make me and mark me and does not pronounce my name in that way. Because I've had the opportunity to be able to root inside me, be able to take this out and be able to turn it in and let it go and actually give forgiveness, not only to others, but to myself. And now I am showing myself self-love, and I'm able to put healthy boundaries in my life. But until you become transparent with who you are, what has happened, and what truly is going on in your life, and where everything is stirring from, it will not start. And no one can take that walk for you, just you. Now, there is a God who loves you, who adores you, who sent his son down to die for you, who's bridged everything for you, who is willing to take you step by step, hold your hand, and surround you with the right tribe, surround you with the right people. If you choose that, it's all about choice. What are you willing to choose for yourself today? What are you willing to do for yourself today? Are you ready to forgive? Are you ready to turn it in? Are you ready to turn that anger into compassion? Are you ready to allow the fruit of the Spirit to dwell inside in you and start transforming and molding you, start making you who you were called to be? This is a choice. And no one can open up that luggage and unzip it unless you allow it, unless you do it, unless you go out there and say, it's time for me to be truly me, to be who God has called me to be the love, to be the difference, to be the light, to be the shine. That. Because what you want in your life, the goodness and the greatness and the awesomeness, God has that. But he also has the people that he wants to give you. But you also have to show that to them. And you can't show what you don't have. But he has all the love in the world for you. And if you're ready for that, he's ready. He's been waiting for you. And you can then turn that and change it and make this world a different place. Your world, and the worlds that you touch along the way, the steps you take along the way, the lives you see along the way. You can be that change. You can be that light. Daniel 9:9 says, the Lord our God is merciful and forgiving, even though we have rebelled against him. So we don't deserve it, but he's merciful and forgiving. So the person who doesn't deserve your forgiveness, we can be merciful and forgiving too. We can choose to show compassion. We can choose to be that change. And most importantly, we can choose to be completely healed. Hey family, you know how we always do? We celebrate the one and only, the reason for our journey. Today is no different. We celebrate him with our indie artist of the month, Salem, with Ain't No Stopping Me.
Wow. Ain't that appropriate?
But before we do, we want to leave you with these thoughts.
Family, remember, change is a process. Growth is a process. But God loves you enough to allow that process. Family, trust the process.
Be a blessing today to make an impact tomorrow. Be the light. Be the salt. Good night, family.
Good night, fam. We love you.
I've been down, I've been up, but like just giving up. Looking for something, looking for opportunities. Wish I can say I got my way without the tears and without the pain. I've done this, I've done that. Don't know how I fell off track. Still believing in possibility, but ain't no stopping me. I'm about to go right to the top. I'm gonna give it everything that I got. 'Cause all the haters, they can't stop me. Ain't no stopping me. I push my way up here, had to push away the fears, and here I am today. Ain't no stopping me. Take some time and realize things don't always turn out right. You gotta believe me, you'll be alright. Just wait and see. Wish I can say I got my way without the tears and without the pain. Oh no, I've done this, I've done that. I don't know how I fell off track. Still believing in possibilities. But ain't no stopping me. I'm about to go right to the top. I'm gonna give it everything that I got. Cause all the saying is they can't stop me. Ain't no stopping me. I had to push my way up here. Had to push away the fears. And here I am today. Ain't no stopping me. But ain't no stopping me. I'm about to go right to the top. I'm gonna give it everything that I got. Cause all the saying is they can't stop me. Ain't no stopping me. I had to push my way up here. Had to push away the fears. And here I am today. Ain't no stopping me.